What's up, guys? It's Zero here, bringing you all a brand new episode of Horror Theory. Welcome, everyone, to Horror Theory, the best horror-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a little while since we went live, and there's no excuses, man. We got to be better for sure when it comes to creating consistent content for all of you. We've been uploading a lot on the YouTube channel, so you guys can check out all of that content. But yeah, it's been really busy inside of Zero Dark. We've been having summer camps, events every single day. It's been pretty crazy, to say the least. And so if you're wondering why we haven't been coming out with a show lately or live streaming for going on 2 weeks now, that's why. But you guys can check out all of our content that we've been uploading every single day on the YouTube channel. We have new videos consistently bringing you guys everything in the world of horror. Plus, we give you guys some insight into what it all means. So with that said, guys and girls, I want to say thank you so much, guys. I think the last time that we went live, we had 1.33K subscribers on YouTube. We now have 1.39K on YouTube. So you guys have been enjoying the content, which is awesome. You guys have been subscribing to the channel. Really grateful for each and every one of you, truly. But with that down and out of the way, guys, I've got a loaded show here for all of you guys and girls. We've got a number of things that we want to talk about here, and so let's do it. Jeff says, "What's up, bro?" What up, dude? Jeff, I wish that we could have done our show that we were planning on doing. Guys, for those of you watching, we were planning on doing a show before Jeff left to go to NPC, which is like a concert. And we were planning on doing one as well, where we were going to be bringing on a guest onto the show, and scheduling and all of that, it just didn't end up working out, unfortunately. But what I'm excited about, though, is we're going to go over some of those things here today in terms of some of the things that we were going to talk about. And we'll be getting, of course, Jeff back on the show when he gets back from NPC, and we're going to be bringing on more and more guests onto the show. That's been something I've wanted to do for a while now, is bring more and more guests, more and more opinions onto the show about all the things within the world of horror. So today, guys, here's what we're going to be talking about here today. So I want to get started with this. Let me just switch screens here for all of you. So here's what I want to talk about first and foremost. There's a little game that I've been covering for a while on my personal YouTube channel, and now we want to start covering it here on Horror Theory because it is obviously a true horror experience that looks to be, kind of takes inspiration from games within the world of like Dead Space. We don't know a ton about it yet, but we got an update. And this is Routine, guys. Routine's a game that I've been really looking forward to back when they gave us the initial teaser trailer or the initial trailer to this title. I've been very interested and intrigued by this game for a multitude of reasons, but because that initial trailer was actually awesome. But secondly, Lunar Software, they have been working on this title for now over 10 years. I mean, it was announced I believe it was actually over 10 years ago that this game was announced. And we're finally starting to we got that trailer, and that was a number of years ago. This is a game that's going to be coming out day one on Xbox Game Pass. Truly excited about this one. I think it could be something really special, but we haven't heard much as of late from the folks over at Lunar Software. They have partnered with Raw Fury to continue developing the title. And so here's what they had to say on X. So here's what they had to say, guys. They tweeted out on X stating, Sorry for the long silence, but we are happy to share some news and new screenshots for Routine. If we go over to this link, guys, it brings us over to their Steam page where it states Heartbeat. Hey, it's Aaron, Gemma, and Pete here from Lunar Software. We know it's been a while since our last update. Working on Routine has always been a huge undertaking for a team of our size, and because of that, felt it was important to keep our heads down and focus entirely on finishing Routine. But we are aware of the interest in our work, and we are sorry for any frustration that this may have caused. In short, Routine is still very much in active development, and we are beginning to approach the finish line for the game. We've learned a lot from past experiences. One of those is not to commit to a release window before we're absolutely sure we can hit it. However, we're confident that we'll be able to share more news on that front soon. Until then, we would like to share a few screenshots of Union Plaza. It's a struggling tourist attraction on our moon, complete with a living quarters, arcade, and even a mall. So let me kind of break down this first part. You know, one of the things I think a lot of developers and publishers get into trouble with is giving us a release window and not being able to hit that release window. Routine, guys, I mean, you could argue has been in like a development hell for 10 years, you know, or the better half of a decade. I think that with a game like this, where you have a very small team, it reminds me of like Team Kill Media, the folks that the brothers who are, you know, have made Quantum Air, Sun and Bone, Project Violet, I believe it is, that's going to be coming out. It reminds me of that, where it's a very small team of people that are just very dedicated to making, you know, these projects happen. And they have a passion project and they're working on it. And obviously the folks over at Lunar Software, they're working on Routine. But I think the issue has been similar to Negative Atmosphere. I feel like part of the issue has been funding with the project. Now, it could just be that they have a small team and, you know, it's just taking a long time for the project to come to fruition. But at the same time, it also could be the cost to create the project, and they don't have the proper funding to get Routine to where they want it to be. And so it's just been kind of in this limbo state, essentially. And so it could be a couple of things. It could be both things. But I just kind of want, you know, I think it's important that, you know, people understand that when we're talking about a AAA title, that alone can take a number of years, even with a team of over 100 people working on a project. It can take years upon years to get the game right, to make sure it's polished, well refined, and ready to go. And so when you have a very small studio like Lunar Software working on Routine, a game that, you know, looks to be certainly like a linear experience, a linear horror experience, but even that, I mean, if you're trying to come out with a full-blown, you know, campaign that's, you know, 8, 10, 20-hour campaign, it can take a lot of time, guys. And so I think that this is, Routine has seen a multitude of different, you know, transitions, renditions of what it was like. What it was in the very beginning has probably changed drastically over the years because the software and all of those things from Unreal Engine, so on and so forth, have changed. So just kind of bear with that, and you know, these are the types of studios that come out with these passion projects that end up being absolutely incredible because they're true labors of love, and they don't have to go, you know, forward all of their work in progress to higher ups of a massive corporation, like, say, for example, what State of Decay has to do with Microsoft and with Xbox. So just kind of give you some perspective there. We are still a core development team of 3, but we have been fortunate enough to gain the support and expertise of additional contributions during the game's development. We are super thankful to have worked with a variety of awesome and skilled people over the years. One of those people we are grateful for and privileged to have worked with is Mick Gordon. Mick spent many years working with us on Routine. However, in July 2024, Mick made the difficult decision to leave the project because of conflicts in his schedule. During his time with us, Mick created many outstanding audio assets that will be featured in the final game and provided invaluable audio direction for Routine. These contributions will now be implemented by a new audio designer and team. Over the years, Mick has been an incredible friend and collaborator, supporting us through thick and thin. We are grateful, or deeply grateful, for his work on Routine and wish him all the best in his future projects. So the next thing I want to, the next thing I want to preface this by is stating that I feel Routine specifically, we're getting pretty close to the finish line. It sounds like they've gotten a lot of work done, and they've just been kind of waiting to give us an update until they had more things to show us, like these screenshots, for example, within the living quarters, the arcade, Union Plaza, the mall, things of that nature. They're showing us more things, and I think what that indicates to me is that we're getting closer and closer to this game coming out, and we might see it potentially in 2026, which would be absolutely ideal. We know it's been a good while since we last shared an update on the game, so thank you for being patient and continuing to support us as we work to finish it. It's been a long road. We've poured every spare second we could into Routine. We love this game deeply and have pushed ourselves as much as we could trying to bring this game to life. We couldn't be more excited to see you all explore what we have created. Lunar Software. And so, guys, a core development team of 3. That's part of it. That's part of the reason why this has taken so long, Obviously, they've gotten some additional contributions for the game's development, which is absolutely huge. But I think that, when I look at this, I think to myself, okay, they're getting closer and closer to this game coming out and making its way into the world. And I would have to assume that we're not going to hear again from Lunar Software until they have like a trailer or something of that nature, gameplay, things of that nature, to show off to all of us. But I'm very excited for Routine. The question is for all of you, though. What do you guys think about Routine and this update, this very exciting update that we are going to, we're getting closer and closer to the finish line from Lunar Software in this exciting, anticipated horror title? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, I think we've got a lot of games and things of that nature that to be excited about moving into the future of horror games and just gaming in general, really. I mean, when I look at it, I'm like, bro, there's so much to be incredibly excited about, moving into the future of horror. But I think one of the games that I would love to talk about, and I really shouldn't even say games, I should really say an event that's coming up in the foreseeable future that we should all be very, very excited about, is none other than Gamescom. Guys, Gamescom is up and coming here. I'm very excited about it. I'm sure a number of you are as well. And so let's talk about things that we can expect from Gamescom this year. And I want to break this down and preface this because I think it's really, really important, without question, to break down some of the games, and especially opening night live. That's the big thing, right? So let me go ahead and let me switch screens once again. So here we go. Guys, Gamescom is growing in popularity every year. Ever since, E3 got, canceled. We haven't gotten another E3. I think that Gamescom has become, without question, a staple event that's happening now within the gaming landscape. And you can, obviously we have Summer Game Fest, you have the Game Awards, Gamescom now, and Jeff Keighley heading this whole thing up. I think it's absolutely incredible. These, events, award shows, things of that nature really continue to put a spotlight on the gaming industry as a whole. With Gamescom 2025 coming up, we're about a month away from this event, opening night live. I want to break down, Gamescom. For those of you, obviously, who don't know what Gamescom is, we're going to talk about it and some games that we could very well get announcements of as we move into, the latter half of 2025, and things that we can expect this year, games that we can expect in the future, and maybe some games that we're hoping to see within the horror realm at Gamescom 2025. So let's get into it. So guys, the big event at Gamescom is none other than Opening Night Live. Once again, you will be able to be there live as host Jeff Keighley leads you through an outstanding show with thousands of fans on site in Cologne and millions of digital viewers. You will experience new game announcements, trailer and gameplay reveals, talks with prominent guests, a first look at Gamescom events, and much more. And obviously, guys, as Gamescom has been going on, and we haven't, had E3, I love that these exist for us. Because when I think about Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Game Showcase, we talk about, State of Play, the Game Awards, Gamescom, it's awesome because when certain things fell out, that being like E3, new things are kind of coming into the fray, newer things, I should say, in the form of Gamescom. They're completely sold out though, guys, which is crazy awesome to see. It's completely sold out. Look, I think that Gamescom is going to be something really special this year because we're going to have a lot of games that are more than likely going to get announced here. Now, are we going to have more games announced here than maybe some of the other shows like Xbox Game Showcase and things of that nature? It's hard to say. But the dates of this are August 19th. So, like I said, a month away, 8 o'clock p.m. is when it starts. And they're going to be showing us all the new games, probably existing games. And one of those, I believe that they're going to show us, guys, some updates on, potentially. Dying Light the Beast, I think, that's a game that comes, I believe, the 22nd, so a few days after. I would not be surprised at all if Dying Light the Beast showed up and just had like a day one launch trailer or something of that nature at Gamescom, just to remind people that the game is only a few days away. So I would not be surprised about that. The next one that obviously many of us here on Horror Theory want to see is State of Decay 3. I would love to see an update here. Now, part of it doesn't make a lot of sense for it to be shown at Gamescom versus the Xbox Game Showcase because it's an Xbox Game Studio, IP. It's an Xbox exclusive right now. And so I feel like Xbox would want to show off things for State of Decay 3 at their own, events. However, is there a possibility that State of Decay 3 shows up? Is there a possibility Gears of War E-Day shows up? I think it's possible. I think it's unlikely, though. I think that when we talk about Gears of War E-Day, that is going to be shown as a direct with the Xbox Game Showcase in 2026. I think they'll have the normal Xbox Game Showcase, and then their direct right after will be a full-blown, deep dive into Gears of War E-Day. State of Decay 3, I would love to see it here at Gamescom because the longer we're going here, the more I'm feeling we're not going to see State of Decay 3 in 2026. More than likely, if it did come out in 2026, it'd be like fall of 2026. Then you got Gears of War E-Day more than likely releasing around that time as well. So I just feel like Xbox is going to want to spread their games out a little bit. But nonetheless, State of Decay 3 would be, one of, like, top of the list of games that I would absolutely love to see here at Gamescom 2025. Gears of War E-Day, that would be awesome. But some other games that we might see, guys. We were just talking about Routine, a game that is getting closer and closer to the conclusion of development. And I think that there is a possibility, slight possibility, that Routine will show us a new gameplay trailer, maybe a release date trailer at Gamescom. Once again, kind of unlikely. We just got an update from them. Maybe they're planning this because they're going to be showing us something at Gamescom. But I'm thinking we're going to hear more about Routine next year, or maybe even later this year from Lunar Software. But nonetheless, that would be awesome. That would be something to keep your eyes on at Gamescom. Is Routine. The next one, my most anticipated game of the future, when we talk about within the horror realm, is OD, Overdose, by Hideo Kojima himself. And I think that there is a good opportunity we may see OD at Gamescom this year, and here's why. OD, and Hideo Kojima, he's very strategic in how he, when he releases his trailers, when he's releasing information to all of us. Obviously, Death Stranding 2 just released to the world. And now I would say, sure, the part of Kojima Productions is working on, Death Stranding 2 to make sure everything's polished, refined, things of that nature, make sure everything, continues to work seamlessly. But I feel that part of the team now is working on OD. Now, there's two things here. The first one is that OD, guys, we haven't heard much of since it was announced. I believe it was a couple of years ago at the Xbox Game Showcase, I think it was. They're using the Xbox Cloud gaming here with OD in one way, shape, or form. Hideo Kojima calls it overdosing on fear, game over, things of that nature. Reminds me of Saw a little bit. But I'm so intrigued by this title because I've seen the trailer over and over again. And that initial trailer, it didn't really give us much, but it really gave us a lot of excitement, a lot of hype, anticipation building around OD. Could we see it at Gamescom? I think we could. I think we could get an update on it. Now, you might be thinking, well, we're probably not going to see it there just because it's another Xbox title that they're using the Xbox Cloud, which is really interesting, by the way, because Hideo Kojima's been working with PlayStation now for a while, and now he's branching off and he's working with Xbox on OD, which is going to be fascinating. If they don't show it at Gamescom, I think we will get an update on OD at the Xbox Game Showcase next year. The reason that it might be too soon is because they just are finishing up, obviously launching Death Stranding 2. And for them to show us something from OD, they might want to take their time a little bit before they show us more information about it, unless they're pretty far into development, which it's hard to say if they are or not. But, Hideo Kojima, what he does really well is he keeps his team on a schedule where they're able to hit their deadlines that they need. They're able to, they don't really go, you don't hear them going into many cycles of development hell. Hideo wants to get these projects done, finished, released to the world, and then he can move on to the next project. So I think OD, we're going to be hearing something within the next year. If we don't hear it at Gamescom, I believe within the next year, we will be hearing something from OD. What else? Well, we've got Silent Hill F coming. Silent Hill F, guys, the up-and-coming title from Konami, looks absolutely disturbing, psychological. Looks pretty creepy, to say the least. I think Silent Hill F is a game that could really bring us back into the Silent Hill universe in a major way. Because when we think back with Hideo Kojima specifically, because he was working on Silent Hills with PT, the playable teaser that we got was absolutely unnerving. It was psychological. It was terrifying. I loved that playable teaser, that demo that they released. That was with Hideo Kojima before Hideo, parted ways with Konami and started his own thing, and insert Death Stranding. And you had, of course, Norman Reedus working with Hideo Kojima on Death Stranding, but they were working together on Silent Hills. So we've been waiting and waiting to hear information with Silent Hill, and I think that Silent Hill F could be something really special. Now, is it going to be as great as Hideo Kojima's Silent Hills? It's hard to say, guys. I mean, it's really hard to say. It looks good, though. It does look good. It looks creepy. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to hear more information about it. What else could we hear from Gamescom? Well, there's a couple of games that I think that we could very well hear from. It's hard to say, what's all going to be shown. But I would say that there's a high likelihood we could get a Chronos: The New Dawn release date trailer. Because at this point in time, guys, we're getting more and more information about Chronos: The New Dawn. I'm very excited about it. Many of you guys and girls out there know I'm a massive, Dead Space fan. Love the Callisto Protocol. We're going to be talking about that here on the show. Chronos seems to be like a spiritual successor to those, but it also seems to be, a little bit of Silent Hill, a little bit of Resident Evil. They took a lot of inspiration from John Carpenter's The Thing. And so I'm telling you, I believe that Chronos: The New Dawn will be at Gamescom this year, and I think that they will give us a release date trailer because they're stating from all their marketing that it's going to release fall of 2025. So obviously, more than likely a September, October release date. I would say October would probably be their best, time frame to release the game, because you have Silent Hill F coming out in September. You've got Little Nightmares 3 coming out, I believe, in September. So September's starting to kind of get packed up. But I think October, and specifically around Halloween, Chronos: The New Dawn could make a splash, a serious splash there. So Chronos: The New Dawn is definitely one that I would love to see later on this year in October. Another one that I'm interested in, without question, is Hellmart. Hellmart is a FNAF-inspired game, guys, where you basically run a market during the day, and there's there's something wrong with the people. There's this drain clown that comes after you at night. Some of the people come after you at night as well. It looks like a pretty, has a little bit of some comedic elements to it, but it looks like a pretty creepy experience. I'm wondering if we're going to hear more about that here at Gamescom, because Hellmart, I think that they're probably, it's hard to say how far along into development they are. If we don't hear about it at Gamescom, maybe we'll hear more about it next year. But there really are, guys, a lot of games that are in the pipeline that I'm really excited to hear more about, but also get concrete release dates for, as well as new games that come into the fray, new horror titles that come into, I'm sure they're going to have, as they state here, new game announcements, trailer and gameplay reveals. So I just think that we're going to see some things that maybe we haven't heard of in a while, like Routine. And then the new stuff that we see is going to be really interesting. And I'm hoping that we get a good amount of horror releases, or I should say reveals, at Gamescom. But I'm very excited about Gamescom this year, guys. I think that there's going to be a lot here to be excited about. Even just the show in general. The production quality is incredible. And Jeff does an incredible job with hosting Gamescom. And so I think there's a lot of horror games that could very well get announced here, or at least we get some concrete release dates, whether it's for State of Decay 3, whether it's for Chronos: The New Dawn, which I think Chronos is probably the one that we're going to be seeing here, and they're going to tell us, yes, this is when it's releasing, October of 2025 or whatever. And I'm totally cool with Bloober Team taking their time with deciding when to when to create the release date, right? So ultimately, though, guys, I would love to hear all of your guys' thoughts about this in the comment section down below. What games are you hoping to get announcements for? Some trailers, updates, or gameplay reveals for at Gamescom this year? You guys heard my list. What's your list? Let me know in the comment section down below and let us know your thoughts. And with that down and out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to this. We've got a couple of people, some people in the chat. We got Pedro. If no SOD news at Gamescom, I give up. Hey, listen, Pedro, I totally get where you're coming from, man. But here's the thing. Don't give up hope. And here's why. I think with State of Decay 3, we have to realize that it is an Xbox exclusive, right? At least right now. And so Xbox probably wants to be in control of when they reveal certain things to us. So Xbox Game Showcase is pretty much the place where they're kind of revealing a lot of the stuff that's coming out. They're giving us updates on different release dates and things of that nature. Now, they didn't do a really good job of that this year. Xbox has been in kind of a weird space right now because they're announcing all these projects, then they're canning a lot of projects. They fired and let go a lot of people. And so they're in a weird spot right now. But I don't think that you should give up because I believe that State of Decay 3 is certainly still in active development. They've got the Coalition who work on Gears of War. They're helping them. They've got Obsidian, the folks working on Grounded 2 and the Outer Worlds. They're helping out Undead Labs on this next title, State of Decay 3. And so, and then we heard from Ches Gordon. He's a journalist that covers with Windows Central. He covers a lot of things within the Xbox realm. And what he says is that in terms of all the cancellations, all the delays, all of those things that are that he's hearing about, State of Decay 3 is still on schedule. So when do I think it's going to come out? Well, I thought it was going to come out the beginning of 2026. And I think I was pretty wrong about that because I think that now we're looking at a fall 2026 or a early 2027 release for State of Decay 3. And here's why. I thought the beginning of the year made a lot of sense, but because wasn't going to be a ton of other games coming out next year in the beginning of the year besides like Resident Evil Requiem. But I look at, as you go to the middle of the year, you want no parts of that because GTA 6 comes out May 26th of next year. So you don't want to be anywhere near GTA 6. Regardless of whether your game is similar to GTA or completely different, everybody's going to be buying and playing GTA 6. So you want to stay away from that. So where does that lead you? Well, that leads you into maybe a late summer or like a fall release, which makes a lot of sense for State of Decay 3 because you've got Halloween, right? And that would be a good release window, would be like Halloween of 2026. But here's the thing with that. Gears of War E-Day is more than likely coming out Halloween of 2026, which is another Xbox exclusive. And so Gears of War E-Day, even though Gears and State of Decay are totally different, at the same time, I feel like Xbox is going to want to separate their titles a little bit. I believe that Gears of War E-Day is going to be the direct next year. So we're going to have the Xbox Game Showcase, and then they have a direct. This year it was the Outer Worlds 2. I believe next year it will be Gears of War E-Day. Maybe it's State of Decay 3, but I think it's going to be Gears of War E-Day. So I don't think that you really want to be too close to Gears either. I think you probably, August, September, maybe, or later into the year, but then you have to deal with like Call of Duty and a number of these other games that are probably going to be coming out next year. So it's tough. And that's why I feel with State of Decay 3, they got to knock this thing out of the park. So part of it is they got to just I feel like you want to release it in a time frame where it does make sense for State of Decay 3, but you want to stay kind of away from the other Xbox exclusives and away from maybe some other games that could overshadow it, which I think State of Decay 3 now, I mean, millions upon millions of players. So I think that there's a good chance that it could stand on its own for sure. But yeah, don't lose faith on it. That's for sure. Deadlock, what's up? But look, I'm excited, guys, about the future of you know, these horror games and stuff. And the next one that I want to talk about here is the Callisto Protocol. So you guys remember, you know, Dead Space came out, you know, a long time ago on the 360. And Dead Space really was critically acclaimed. One of the greatest survival horror games I've ever played. The second one, I think, was even better than the first. And then the third game came out, and it was a step in the wrong direction. A number of the guys and girls who were working on the first two Dead Space games, they did not work on the third one. EA went in this direction of doing, you know, instead of being a horror game with action elements, they made it an action game with horror elements. And so it really hurt the game in Dead Space 3, and it was in a limbo state, a state of no return for so long. And then all of a sudden, EA, and I really should say it wasn't EA, it was the community that got a remake greenlit for Dead Space 1. Game comes out, incredible. An incredible remake by Team Motive over there working, you know, on the Dead Space remake. But here was a problem with that. The problem was that the Dead Space remake came out like a month and a half later after the Callisto Protocol released to the world. And the Callisto Protocol, guys, for those of you who don't know, and by the way, if you have not played the Callisto Protocol, I would challenge you to play it because it is an absolutely incredible game. I don't care what anybody says. I loved the Callisto Protocol. Yep, it had a lot of issues at launch. Krafton released the game early when Glenn Schofield and the guys over at Striking Distance Studios told them, look, we need more time. They didn't give them more time, and they released it. And it came out, I believe, December 2nd or something of that nature. And then we had Dead Space Remake come out in January. So I just thought it was absolutely terrible timing for all of this. But the question is now, could the Callisto Protocol ever get a sequel, right? Krafton obviously, you know, dubbed the Callisto Protocol a failure. It failed, essentially, and Glenn Schofield and the guys over at Striking Distance, I believe Striking Distance closed up, and so now I don't know what Glenn Schofield and those guys are working on now, but what would make the Callisto Protocol 2 ever happen? Well, let me tell you. I think what would get the Callisto Protocol to see the light of day is if Krafton decided to do what they were originally going to do with the Callisto Protocol at first, which was this. For those of you who didn't know, the Callisto Protocol originally was going to be a horror game set within the PUBG universe. Yes, it was originally going to be in PUBG's universe, right? And as they were going through development, they decided, you know what, we're just going to do this as a standalone game. It's not going to have anything to do with PUBG. And I thought at the time that that was a good idea. On the flip side, though, I thought, well, PUBG is, you know, Krafton's biggest game. And so if you had a horror title within the same universe in one way, shape, or form, it kind of helps to continue building the legacy, the lore, the story of PUBG, right? Because obviously, I think it's important that with any of these massive franchises, PUBG included, having a really solid story and lore and plot and all of those things is awesome. It's great to have that, and that just kind of keeps you kind of entrenched in the world that they're building at PUBG. And I thought that it would have been a pretty cool idea. Well, they didn't do that, right? made it its own thing, and I thought it was great, right? At first it wasn't, but I thought it was great, as they, updated the game. And now I think the game's fantastic. And I think that the final transmission, the DLC and stuff is awesome. They have like a horde mode included there. I think it's great. But I think that if Krafton ever decided to bring the Callisto Protocol back or create a sequel, it would absolutely be in the PUBG universe. I think that's the only way that they would be able to make sense of bringing it back. Because a lot of people are wondering, like, will they ever make a second Callisto Protocol title? And more than likely they're not going to, guys. But if they did, I think the Callisto Protocol 2 would absolutely be in the PUBG universe because of how big PUBG is for Krafton. It'd be almost like, think of Titanfall and Apex Legends. You kind of look at it from that perspective, even though those are very similar just because it's both first-person shooters, so on and so forth. With Callisto Protocol, it's a horror title, and I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if they would ever do it. More than likely they wouldn't. I would love to see it, but we'll have to wait and see, and I'll give you guys more information as it comes out, as we hear more about what Glenn Schofield's working on. Maybe he is working on a sequel. Maybe he's working on something completely new. Who knows what Krafton's planning on doing with the IP, if anything, or if they're going to sell the IP or license it out. Very, very hard to say. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about it in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's talk about this. Really quick, Deadlock says there will always be other games releasing. That's the point of buying developers if you can't release their games. What's the point? Yeah. No, I'm with you. Guys, I made a long video about this with what Xbox, and why them doing this. It really sucks, for a lot of developers who lost their jobs and all of those things. But I found it to be a good thing for Xbox in a couple of ways, because think of it like this, guys. Let's just say all of you that are in the chat right now, let me give you guys a scenario. Let's say all of us are working at Undead Labs and we're all working on State of Decay 3, right? And every single time that we finish something, let's say we finish a certain mission, right? Say there's a mission in the game and we finally finished it. And we sent it up to the higher-ups at Undead Labs, and they approved it. They look at it. They're like, you know what? This is awesome, guys. We're going to send it off to Xbox now and let them review it. Well, then it goes to an executive at Xbox. They look at it. They critique it or whatever. Then they send it off to another executive, and you have all these layers that it has to get to for approval, and that can take a few months, maybe even longer, for that one mission to get approved or denied by the higher-ups at Xbox. Well, Phil Spencer, what he did was, and what Xbox did, they certainly cut a lot of jobs. But a lot of those jobs were actually leadership positions, executive positions. So I look at it like, if you're cutting a lot of the executive positions at Xbox Game Studios, it's a good thing. Because now, if we finish a mission, maybe we only have to go a couple of layers of management. Maybe we don't have to go 10 layers of management. Now we go 2 layers of management to get approvals on certain missions or certain, whether it's a perk system, a horde mode, multiplayer, things of that nature. Because Xbox, obviously owning the IP, they want to see what the folks at Undead Labs is working on. And so when you have less people that you have to get approvals from, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So I look at it like, it sucks that some of the developers lost their jobs. I think it's awful, and it sucks. But a lot of the executives lost their jobs too. And I think that now we should have a better, it's a better roadmap, essentially, in my personal opinion, because Xbox's problem is they're stretching themselves too thin, where they've got so many projects, all these studios, and they're allowing games to be in development for 10 years, and they still don't see the light of day. like Everwild, for example. Everwild was in development, guys, for like 10 years, bro. Listen, from a business perspective, if I'm Xbox, I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing over there? 10 years? Bro, we have to pay salaries. We have to pay for the engine, to all these different, like, the entire list of things that Xbox is paying for. And sure, it's a tough decision to pull the plug, but it's like, dude, if you guys don't have anything and you've been given 10 years of a salary or whatever to work on this game, bro, I mean, I would be looking at it the same way, right? I would be like, dude, because I've been invested in the stock market for a long time, guys, and I look at it like, bro, if you're not getting a return on your investment and really like the progress, it's not there or whatever, and the direction isn't there, there's creative differences, development hell cycles. I mean, at some point, you got to pull the plug. And Perfect Dark, apparently the gameplay we saw for Perfect Dark was completely fake. I don't know. There were people who got fired from, what was it, The Initiative, that stated that what was shown off was real. But I'm just saying, like, I look at it as a lot of these studios are in these development hell cycles, not just because of themselves, but because of the issues at Xbox with the executives. Like, think of it like this. If you're an executive at Xbox and you want to push a certain agenda, when you get something across your table like a mission from State of Decay 3 and you're like, yeah, this doesn't follow my agenda, yeah, you guys got to redo it. You guys got to change it. Or let's say, for example, that person did like it, but then the next executive didn't. So you have all these different opinions, agendas, and things of that nature where these games just go into these development hell cycles. So I'm kind of going on a rant a little bit about it, guys, but like I made a whole video talking about this. I believe that although it sucked that Xbox did that, I think now we're going to get more games completed quicker. Time will tell, but I don't know. You have to realize it's not, if something's not working, it's not working, and you need to pivot and change it. And I look at like State of Decay 3, for example, you have the Coalition who work on the Gears of War series. They're now working and helping Undead Labs. Obsidian, the guys who do Grounded, the Outer Worlds, they're helping State of Decay 3 and Undead Labs. So what does that tell you about Undead Labs? Either they're short-staffed, or they don't really have a good direction, or they plain out need help. And as a studio, if you can't handle that kind of shit internally, there's some problems. Whether it's creative differences, development hell cycles, issues with the higher-ups at Xbox, issues with the higher-ups at Undead Labs. There's been a number of people that were a part of Undead Labs that stated that, or former employees that were saying that State of Decay 3, or I really should say Undead Labs as a whole, had issues. Hang on a sec, guys. All right, guys. Like I had mentioned, anytime that I have people that come into Zero Dark, I pretty much mute everything and stuff. So that's all that was happening. Yours Chosen says hello. What's up, dude? What else? John Bon Zombie. I don't expect to see State of Decay 3 at Gamescom. I feel that means that 2027 was the right year predicted for its release. Yeah, dude. I agree. I think that State of Decay 3 will probably not be at Gamescom. But anyways, yeah, so I think that the year that it's predicted should be probably late 2026 or 2027 for sure. I have no doubt about that in my mind. What's up? State of Decay 3 only came out of pre-production like 3 years ago. Yeah, I don't know. Look, dude, I really don't know about any of this stuff. I'm going to take this thing out. This is like a Charizard toy looking thing. But anyway, I'm not sure, dude, if it was... Yeah, State of Decay 3, it's been in this development cycle, I mean, for a long time. Because if you think about it, State of Decay 3's first trailer came out in 2020. And I know, like, so I talk that, Undead Labs didn't do that trailer and stuff. But it's just the fact of the matter that it's been, obviously they had some movement going for the game. And then all of a sudden... they're having these development hell issues, probably issues with the higher-ups over at Xbox. It's hard to say. But nonetheless, yeah, I think that more than likely, I thought it was going to be early 2026. I think it's going to be fall of 2026 or 2027. So, but with that down and out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to this. There is a game coming out that I'm interested in. Switch screens here so you guys can kind of take a look at what I'm seeing here. So guys, there's a game that's coming out. I thought looked pretty fascinating. I came across this on Steam, and this is a game that showed us some gameplay. It actually kind of reminds me, like the style of it almost looks a little bit like an updated version of Quantum Air from Team Kill Media. But check this out. And I love the guys who work on the Quantum Air. The guys over at Team Kill Media, they're really cool guys. But you can see, like, from a graphic fidelity perspective, it definitely looks better than like Quantum Air. Looks like there was a lot of detail that went into this. This game is called Total Chaos. And it looks chaotic. For sure. It looks really... it does look unnerving, for sure. Now, you got weapons that you can defend yourself. So this doesn't look to be like a Outlast or Alien Isolation kind of situation where you're running away from them. You can actually fight back. But you got bosses. Got all kinds of different creatures. Doesn't look like you have a lot of different weapons to choose from. But I gotta tell you, it looks like it took some references from like a number of games, right? It looks like it took reference from maybe a little bit of Dead Space, the Callisto Protocol, Silent Hill. And the scope of it seems pretty grand, actually, for a horror title that I've never heard of the studio that's worked on this before. And so it looks intense. Total Chaos. I'm excited about this. And this could be a game, guys, that gets announced. Now, here's the thing that's kind of cool. You can play the demo right now. Apogee, I've never heard of these guys, but here's the basic gist of what this is, guys. So you got Fort Oasis is no paradise. It's a decaying terramare where reality crumbles. From the creator of Turbo Overkill comes a survival horror stacked with mysteries and monstrosities. Scavenge scraps to craft weapons and follow a cryptic voice on your walkie-talkie through the island's depths. I never played Turbo Overkill. You guys will have to tell me in the comment section if you guys have ever played that. But this is a game, guys, that I am absolutely planning on playing the demo. The demo came out, and it's supposed to be coming out Q4 of 2025. So that would be like September, October, November, or December of this year. So this could very well make its way into the world during maybe a Halloween release, potentially. Who knows? But it looks pretty creepy. I'm not even, not going to sugarcoat it. There's definitely, I mean, guys, it doesn't look like this, a massive like AAA title, but it looks like an indie company made this, and it's like a labor of love. Like you can just kind of tell from the level of detail, the sheer terror that it looks like that this is going to have. You got a number of different weapons that you can use, and there's a lot of different enemy varieties, which is what I really like about it. It, like I said, Silent Hill F looks like it's got a lot of variety to its specific like creature designs or enemy designs. This one definitely looks like it has that as well. Looks creepy, man. I'm looking forward to checking out the demo, and if you guys want me to, I'll do it on stream sometime for you guys. If you guys would want to see me play the demo for Total Chaos, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about Total Chaos, this up and coming survival horror title. What are your guys' thoughts about it? Are you excited about it? Curious about it? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to this. Let's see here, guys. John Bon Zombie says, yeah, I saw this on Steam. Looks good. Yeah, it does, man. I totally agree with you. I think Total Chaos looks like, it's like one of those games that's like almost like a hidden gem of a title that could be coming out. I'm always looking for games that a lot of people aren't talking about within the horror realm that have a lot of potential to be something really special. And so I'm definitely looking forward to Total Chaos. I think it looks great. All right. So with that down, guys, and out of the way, I want to move on to this. There's so many different games that I've really have been looking forward to within the horror realm for continuations of. None of them much bigger. Well, I mean, yeah, not many of them much bigger than a game that I have absolutely loved. Not so much love the show, but the games I really like, that being The Last of Us. And The Last of Us, guys, I've been talking about a Last of Us Part 3. I would love to see a Last of Us 3. We don't know if we're ever going to get that based on what we've been told from Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann. But they did have something come out that I thought was quite interesting that I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure if some of you probably saw this, guys, but let me switch my screen here so you guys can see exactly what I am seeing. So here's the deal. Introducing The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered Chronological Experience. And it's already out, guys. If you haven't checked this out, could be something that you might want to check out. Well, the free update lets players experience Ellie and Abby's story chronologically and also includes unlockable skins and trophies. So I thought this was interesting. It's been such a thrilling time for us here at Naughty Dog, especially as we've welcomed so many old and new fans of The Last of Us into the franchise. To celebrate all of your support, we have a surprise in the form of a free update hitting The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered today. Available for players as part of a downloadable update today, we've introduced a new way to play the story of The Last of Us Part 2 like never before chronologically. It's awesome. Give me a sec, guys.
Say it. Here.
Because you can't. So, as I was saying, guys, sorry about that. Um, we were talking about how Naughty Dog has now released The Last of Us chronologically, which I think is cool. Those who have already played will know its story is told non-linearly as Ellie and Abby's motivations, realizations, and emotional stakes unfold across myriad flashbacks and present-day storylines. While this structure is very intentional and core to how our studio wanted Part 2's themes and narrative beats to impact players, we always wondered what it would be like to experience this story chronologically, and now finally we can answer that question. So, look, I'm excited that they're doing this, that they're releasing, the game chronologically, or this mode specifically. I'm excited about it. Part of me wonders if they're going to make a Last of Us Part 3, and they're just kind of, why would they be updating it with this game mode if they weren't planning on doing something like that at some point? Even though Neil Druckmann said that there's a chance that they're never going to make a Last of Us Part 3. What I was really hoping for was Factions 2. That's what we've been waiting for, right? For so long, it's felt like we haven't had Factions 2 in so long. And now all of a sudden, we get this chronological mode, which is cool. I love that this exists, but man, we were wanting Factions 2, and we have never gotten it. A multiplayer, a massive multiplayer experience within The Last of Us, I think would be absolutely incredible. I think at the very least they should do that if they're not going to do a Last of Us Part 3. But nonetheless, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Through the new chronological mode, we believe players will gain even deeper insight into Part 2's narrative. Players will be able to see how Ellie being gifted a guitar flows so neatly into her learning to play, for example, while the journey through Seattle will showcase the fascinating parallels between Ellie and Abby's crisscrossing journeys. You'll see just how close they come into running into each other, how their actions impact each other, and more. I mean, it's awesome. I love it. It was no small feat to bring The Last of Us Part 2's story chronologically together, given that Part 2's story is so meticulously put together. We're grateful to the developers, both at Naughty Dog and our partners at Nix's, to make the chronological mode as smooth as possible. And while we of course recommend players still new to the game to play through Part 2's story as was originally developed, the team's hard work has paid off with a fascinating new way to enjoy this chapter. And also, we wanted to reward players for jumping into this new transformative approach to our story. In addition to new trophies tied to completing narrative experience in chronological order, doing so will also unlock 2 new, perhaps surprisingly familiar skins. It's awesome. I love it. But once again, I want to see a Last of Us Part 3, or at least them announce it. And number 2, at the very least, I want to see a Factions 2. This is cool, but I want to see Factions 2. I want to see The Last of Us Part 3. That's what I want to see. So let me know what you guys think, though, in the comment section down below about this chronological mode brought to us from Naughty Dog in relation to The Last of Us Part 2. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and let us know your thoughts. And with that down and out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who joined us. I know it was a little bit all over the place. I had a number of people coming into Zero Dark, but I got a couple last things I want to give some shout outs to. Let me just switch screens here. There we go. Okay, I want to give a shout out to Wiki's Fortress, Arch War Angel, Philip, Malshami, J-Bones, Church versus the World, Bewoot, Fire, Pipple Up, I don't know, Villager, for the new subscriptions to the channel. I really greatly appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the people who are joining us from joining the membership for Horror Theory. We got a lot of content coming up, guys, in the foreseeable future that I'm really excited about. We're going to be consistently going live for you guys, and yeah, I'm super grateful for all of you for joining us on this journey within Horror Theory. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys did, make sure that you leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, just keep grinding, and as always, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out. All right, gentlemen, it's been real. It's been fun.